Previously on Fog Dog's 1000 subscriber special.
997. Is he gonna do it? Oh, Mr. Fog Dog. 999. Mr. Fog Dog. Oh my god. Oh my god, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. 1000. Fog Dog. Fog Dog. Fog Dog. You hit 1,000 subscribers. Oh my god.
Today I'm going to take you through my day. Obviously, as you can see in the title, this is part one of a two-part video for the 1000 subscriber special.
Fog Dog hit 1000 subscribers and took you through his day, which included a run and a trip into Brisbane City. Following this, he announced that in part 2, he would be doing a Q&A.
So make sure you pop your comments down below, ask some questions, and in part 2, I will be answering them.
Fog Dog, what are you doing? How are you still fishing? You need to film your Q&A.
Oh, hello again, Mr. Poochie Bear. Yeah, I'm still fishing. It's been a few days now, still no fish. Anyway, welcome to part 2 of the 1000 subscriber special. In part 1, a few days ago, I announced that I'm going to be doing a Q&A. And in part 2 today, I'm going to answer all of your questions. So get ready and let's get right to the Q&A.
Wow.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Fog Dog Exclusives 1000 subscriber special. Thank you so much again to everyone who's been a part of the journey so far. As you might have seen in the first part of the 1000 subscriber special where I took you through my day, in part 2, in today's video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A where I will be answering your questions. Alright, so the first question today comes from Horty101 and it is, what's the meaning behind your username? I think I could probably ask the same thing back to you, but my username, the Fog Dog Exclusive, is pretty much, my last name is Fog and it rhymes with dog. I've kind of been nicknamed the Fog Dog in the past, and when I was kind of coming up with the channel, I watched quite a lot of the Athlete Special. And I didn't want to copy the word special, but I thought exclusive was kind of a good synonym and it just kind of fits it together quite well. So the Fog Dog Exclusive, that is what we came up with and that's what we ended up sticking with. The next question today comes from Cruz Hamilton and it is, when did you start running? So I've kind of been running for pretty much as long as I can remember. When I was really young and I was living in England, I used to play a lot of football, soccer, and I wasn't really running properly then when I was about, I don't know, 5, 6 and 7. But then as soon as I came to Australia when I was 7, nearly 8, we had our school cross country when I was 8 and I won that, and then we had that every year, and then when I turned 10 in Australia, you're able to go on to districts and then regionals and states and nationals. And in my first year, I made state cross country and then the state championships in the 800 as well. And kind of since that age, I've been a runner. I wasn't really training seriously when I was 10, 11 or 12, but I've definitely been running since quite a young age. And I got my first kind of serious coach in Ben Norton with the On Track running group just out of Brisbane when I was 16. So I've been running for a long time, but I would say I first kind of started taking it really seriously when I was around the age of 16. Alright, so our next question from Matthew MJ is kind of on a similar note to when I first started running, and it is, what initially inspired you to run? So I was always quite active, and I think running is a really good sport to kind of challenge yourself. You're quite individual in terms of actually racing and training, and you need to definitely put in the work to get the results out of it. But in terms of what initially inspired me to run, I would say just kind of going on to the next level. So through the school competitions in Australia that I mentioned before, it's really motivating kind of trying to make that next team. So when I was 9 and I wasn't allowed to go on to the next stage, I remember thinking like, oh, I really want to make districts, regionals, states, and even nationals the next year. So when I turned 10 and I was able to make those teams, it was perfect. And qualifying for the regional team, going through districts, going to states was kind of the perfect way to get you into the sport. And always having that kind of next goal of making, you know, a regional team or a state team was pretty much the perfect way to get involved in running for me. Alright, on a similar note again, our next question comes from Ward Freeman, and it is, did or does your father run? Just wondering if you were gifted with genetic predisposition to running well. So, Dad does run. He there he is, the Fog Dog Senior. He does run. When he was younger, he was never really a serious runner. He's always kind of been involved on and off with a bit of sport here and there, never taken running too seriously, but he's done 5 marathons now, 6 marathons now, and he's run a 3:31 marathon, he's run a 21-minute flat 5k, and a 44-minute 10k, so he was never elite, but definitely has some natural talent for running in it. I think if he took it seriously as a youngster, he probably would have been able to run something quite fast. My mum, on the other hand, never really has been seriously involved in running either, but her brothers and then my cousins are really quite involved in running. They live in England and they're pretty quick over anything from 800 to 1500, 3k, 5k, and my uncle was quite a good marathon runner. I think he ran a 2:27 marathon as well. So in terms of my parents directly, no specific real elite running from them, but there's definitely relation that I would say has kind of given me some sort of running genes, whichever side it may be from. Alright, our next question comes from BB Films, and it is, when you were 12, what were your PBs for events ranging from 800 to 5k? Alright, so when I was 12, I ran a 2:17 for the 800, and I got to the state championships that year. When I was going through the school system, we didn't have a 1500 until you turned 13, so I only got to run 1500s through the kind of like inter-school competition, and I ran, when I was 12, a 4:44. So that would be equivalent to probably between a 5:03 and a 5:06 for a mile, definitely. And for the 5k, I'm not 100% sure either, but I think I'd run probably just under 20 minutes. I know that when I was 9, obviously a few years before I turned 12, I ran a 21:12 5k, and then the following year, as in when I turned 13, I ran 18:54 for a 5k, so I was somewhere kind of in between that range. I would say probably mid 19 minutes. Our next question comes from Jacopo Trabaldo. I don't know if I said that right, but sorry if I got it wrong. And it is, when did you first get to run at nationals? I mean, how many years did it take you? Alright, so if I was kind of running a bit more seriously from the age of 10, I didn't make nationals that year, but I made it the year after. So I would say I probably should have made nationals for the 800 when I was 10, but I didn't run very well in the state final. And then when I was 11, in the 800 as well, I came 3rd at states, which got me to nationals. And yeah, I ran at nationals in the 800, didn't run well at all. I got knocked out in my heat. I ran a 2:30 in my heat when I went in with a PB of 2:20, and yeah, it wasn't a very good national debut, but these things happen. But yeah, so I made nationals when I was 11 in the 800, and then I didn't actually make it again until I was 16, and when I was 16 I made it for the 800 and the 1500, and that was when I was taking running a bit more seriously. I made the national final in the 1500, didn't have a good run again, but had a really good run in the heats to actually make that final. And then pretty much since I was 16, I've been to some sort of national competition on a yearly basis. All right, our next question comes from Ewan, I think, McLean. And it is, what made you come to the States and choose Drake? All right, so going through high school in Australia, quite a lot of runners end up going to the States for running and college. And when I was in high school, I always kind of thought it would be cool to do, but never really followed through with it. And I would say that when I finished high school, even though I thought it would be cool to go to America, I probably hadn't run quick enough to actually get a decent offer, and so I ended up starting university in Australia. I did 2 years of uni here, and then I ran a bit quicker, got a few decent offers, and the reason why I ended up choosing Drake was pretty much the degree worked out really well for me. I'm studying business, majoring in marketing, and a major influencing factor that made me choose Drake in particular was that Mark Carroll, who's an Irish Olympian, a double Olympian actually, he's run a 13:03 5K, he's a 350 miler, and a 7:30 3K runner. He was our head coach, and so learning from someone like him, a double Olympian who just has so much experience and knows so much about running, was something I couldn't really turn down. So I ended up committing to Drake, and I'm now 1 year in technically, even though we didn't get our outdoor season this year, and I'm loving it. I wouldn't change a thing. All right, our next question comes from Griffin McNeish on the topic of running in America. What's your favorite thing about running in D1? And I would say definitely the competition is great. The environment you get in America to train and study and race is unbeatable. And also just the team you get put in with. So in Australia, if you're in a cross-country team or something like that, you run at cross-country meets and it's all very individual. And as soon as I got over to America in August last year, you're put into a team and it's so team orientated, as in everything you do, you're in the team, you travel with the team is so huge, it's such a big part of cross country, and I think that's something that really kind of differentiates America to Australia in at least cross country. And then on the track, obviously I didn't get my outdoor season, but just in my first indoor season, I got to run a 4 flat in the mile, and that was against Edwin Kurgat, the current national cross country champion. And Pat Casey was in the race, he's a pro for Under Armour. And so just honestly, the competition is unbelievable. It's a really good fun time, you meet new people, and yeah, the team aspect of it makes it even better. All right, on the topic of America and the NCAA season, our next question comes from Sigma Stew, and it is, in next year's NCAA outdoor season, assuming we have it, are you going to move up to the 5K and the 10K, since you have an insane kick and nationals tend to be very tactical? I don't think so. While I can, I want to continue running 1500s, and even though I've now run a decent unofficial 5K and 10K in time trials, I definitely think that during my first outdoor season in America, hopefully next year, I want to stick to 1500s. I might run a 5K and 10K in the future, but yeah, for the time being, I definitely want to focus on the 1500, and hopefully I'll be able to do some decent things in that next season. Next question comes from Ethan Marshall, fellow Drake track teammate, and he's asking if I'm going to get the mullet back for winter track. Yeah, my mullet at the moment is completely gone. I've got a pretty short haircut at the moment. We will see. I would love to bring it back, but I don't know if my mum would be a fan of it. So I'll see how I'm going and see what happens when I get to America. And also, if I get it back, Ethan, you have to as well. Our next question comes from... Oh, my phone's ring. Hello, Mr. Poochie Bear.
Fuck up, this is boring.
What do you mean? It's not boring. I'm doing a Q&A. I told them I'd answer their questions. How else am I meant to do it?
I don't know, you're the fog dog. Think of something. Make it better.
Alright, I'll try my best. Bye.
Bye.
Alright, we are in the car now. Mr. Poochie Bear has requested that we spice things up a little bit. So I am on my way for a run with Luke McCutcheon, who actually starred in part 1 of the 1000 subscriber special as well. I went for a run with him, and on the way there, I am gonna answer some more of your questions.
The first of which is from Mr. Joseph Cruz, and it is, how does Mr. Poochie Bear have such a silky, soothing voice?
Rumour has it, good question, Joe. Rumour has it Mr. Poochie Bear has a very serious and strict routine with his morning breakfast and his soothing tea, and so it's still a bit up in the air, but I think his secret is his tea routine. So if you can, I would recommend getting into it.
So the next question comes from Parker Max, and it is, along a similar theme, okay, can you please explain who Mr. Poochie Bear is?
Mr. Poochie Bear will remain anonymous. He is an anonymous character who plays a very significant role on the Fogdog exclusive, but if you want some big clues about who Mr. Poochie Bear actually is played by, you can probably find some pretty big clues in earlier videos, as in pretty early videos on the channel. I would say the first kind of 4 or 5 videos, so if you haven't seen them yet, go and have a look.
Okay, the next question comes from Josh Lay, and it is, what's your pre-race routine, and do you have any superstitions? And he also goes on to say, congrats Fogdog, miss those UQ days.
Good question, Josh. I miss those UQ days as well. Me and Josh used to do uni together in Brisbane a couple of years ago now, but I'm actually not very superstitious. I don't really have a strict pre-race routine. I would say I try and eat a banana and a cereal bar. I make sure I'm well hydrated, and other than that I try not to really focus on too much, because if you're kind of worried about small things, so many things can so easily go pretty badly wrong, and if they do go wrong, you don't really want to be too worried about trying to fix small things. So I don't really have too many superstitions. I just try and get out there, get my warm-up done, I make sure I'm hydrated, I've eaten well, and yeah, I just kind of go into the race like that.
Okay, next question comes from Levi Schultz, and it is Spotify playlist. What music do you listen to?
This is kind of a weird one. This probably goes against the grain for most people, but I don't really listen to too much music. I mean, when I'm driving, usually I'll just have the radio on or whatever. I quite like just pretty much pop music, I would say. I quite like listening to just whatever's popular on the radio at the time. I do have Spotify, and when I go on there, I've got a playlist with liked songs. I actually use my cousins from England, and other than that, yeah, just pretty much whatever's popular at the moment I'll listen to. But again, with like before racing, I'm really not that kind of needing to be like pumped up. You'll never see me with like headphones on before racing. I just kind of like to be able to talk to people and relax and kind of not have to listen to music before racing to get pumped up.
Next question comes from DinoNet, and it is, what are your long-term running goals?
Another good question. Thanks for that one, DinoNet. My long-term running goals are probably quite similar to a lot of people's long-term running goals. I definitely want to make a major international team, or a number of major international teams, and things like going to the Olympics, running at the World Champs, running at the Com Games are all definitely big goals of mine. I mean, they're definitely going to be hard to achieve, but I think with kind of a lot of hard work, and if I can keep kind of progressing like I have been, they're definitely achievable. Obviously hard, but I wouldn't say unrealistic. And in the slightly shorter term, say while I'm in America, I want to make sure I get to NCAA's indoor and outdoor, so that will be in the mile and in the 1500, and hopefully make NCAA's in cross country as well. And yeah, pretty much on the track, I just want to have a good collegiate career before going on to hopefully bigger and better things.
Okay, next question comes from Nick Sluggett, and he says, Fogdog, question for your next video. What kind of gear do you use to shoot videos, and what software do you edit with?
Great question, Nick. I am actually going to pass this one over to Fogdog to answer. So Fogdog, what gear do you use to shoot with, and what software do you edit with? Great question, Nick, and thank you for passing that one over to me there, Fogdog. It is Editing Fogdog here, and I am currently editing on my Mac on iMovie. So I've got a 2016 MacBook Pro, and I just use iMovie. Fairly simple, nothing too kind of crazy, and yeah, very easy to use. And then for all of the filming, I use a Canon 200D. But sometimes obviously you can't really run with a camera, so I'll just take some videos on my phone, and if I don't have my phone and I've got the GoPro handy, I will do some video clips on the GoPro as well. We've just got word that Fogdog is about to finish his morning run.
Oi, Fogdog!
What? Morning.
G'day.
G'day.
How's that 15k done?
Good morning, Al. I had Jamie McCutcheon down here with me this morning for the first 5k. 15k in the bag. I will pop the Strava map in here. Oh wait, it didn't work. I'll pop the Strava map in here. Great morning out, nice easy run, lots of grassy circles this morning just to take a bit of pressure off the legs, but overall a great way to start the week.
Nice, nice. Don't you have some questions to answer though?
Yes, good point there, Jamie. I do still have some questions left to answer in the Q&A, but I don't want to bore you with a very, very long episode, and because we're already 20 minutes in, I'm going to make a part 3 of the FogDog Exclusives 1000 subscriber special where I finish off the questions. So I've got through quite a few questions today, but I got way more questions than I ever imagined I would. So I'm going to make a part 3 of the 1000 subscriber special. If I haven't answered your question yet, don't worry, I will be making a part 3 and I will be answering all of the questions. So we'll see you in the next one.
Next week on a FogDog exclusive. FogDog is back for the final episode of Unfinished Business. In the final episode of Unfinished Business, FogDog will take you on his journey since 2018 and show you races, including his first Open National 1500 meter final, his 340 1500 meters, and his 4-minute mile. See all of this and more next Thursday, June 18th, 7 p.m. Central Time.
Only on the FogDog exclusive.